So after Noah and his family of three sons and their wives came out of the ark, they stayed up in those Armenian highlands for at least a couple of years. And then later they all began their migration toward Mesopotamia. Ham, Shem, Japheth, and their families. So they were up in the Armenian highlands near the Black Sea. Right in here, Lake Van. Here's the Tigris River. Here's the Euphrates. And then they started to come down those mountains, migrating toward Mesopotamia. And where did they go? Well, Genesis chapter 9 says that God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." That is what the Most High's will was for them, was to fill the whole earth. They knew that the earth was round. They didn't believe that the land was flat like other peoples later on believed, but they knew that the earth was round. That's mentioned in the book of Job. And so no doubt they knew that. And so Genesis chapter 11 talks about that they did find a place to dwell. It says the whole earth was of one language and of one speech at that time. Verse 2, and it came to pass as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dealt there. So here they went to the area of Shinar. And what were they do? They were to fill the earth. Remember, they had just got out of a flood that had been destroyed earlier. The Most High destroyed a wicked world of violence and wickedness and evil, demons. And he wanted to start over again and have the whole earth, everyone in harmony and peace and love and happiness. But what happened? Well, let's see what happened. Talks about Cush became father to Nimrod there in verse 8. He was the first to become a mighty one on the earth. He became a mighty hunter in opposition to Jehovah. That is why there is a saying, just like Nimrod, a mighty hunter in opposition to Jehovah. And notice in verse 10, the beginning of his kingdom. He wanted to build a kingdom. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So why was Nimrod in opposition to the Most High? Again, because he wanted to have power. He wanted to have a kingdom and a celebrated name for himself, instead of filling the earth like the Most High wanted them to do. Again, they had just got out of a global flood with all that violence and demonism and wickedness, Nephilims, and Jehovah had wiped all that out. He wanted them to start over again, all the families of Noah, and they could move forward in peace until that promised seed would come. But Nimrod did not want to discern Jehovah's will. So what did the people following Nimrod started to build? What did they decide to do? Well, we'll go back to chapter 11. Notice in verse 7. They said, "Come, let us go down and there..." let's go to verse 4 first. They said, "Come, let us build us a city, a tower, with its top in the heavens, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." So see, they wanted to make themselves a name for themselves, a celebrated name, and stay in one place. They did not want to do what the Most High wanted them to do, was to make the earth a paradise, like it was supposed to be in the beginning with Adam and Eva. And it says here they were going to make a tower with its top in heaven. So what does that tell us? It was going to be a religious city, a religious tower. And that is exactly what this tower, which later was called the Tower of Babel or Babylon, all kind of things came out of that city. And we're going to cover that in another video later. But you can imagine, and you already know, friends, what things came out of there that are still part of Christendom and Babylon the Great. And so it's not the Bible that's at fault. It's Christendom that's at fault. Christendom is the one that has twisted the scriptures. But there's nothing wrong with the Hebrew scriptures or even the Greek scriptures. It was a continuation. But Christendom and the demons twisted up the scriptures. We'll talk about that in another video later on. But this is where it started here. This city, this tower with its top in the heavens. And it was going to be a celebrated name. It was going to be a religious city with all kind of doctrines that were not in harmony with the Hebrew scriptures. So they began to build this tower. And so what happened? Well, they started migrating off. Some migrated to Africa, even down into the Africa-Palestine area. Some went down into India. Some went to China and to Southeast Asia. Some went to Europe. And so it was just a steady migration there. We see here, these are some ones here in the Africa-Palestine area. So we see there's a mixture. Some went down into China. Some went to India, in the Tibet area. Here's a nice, beautiful picture of our sister in Palestine. So they went all in many different directions. Some went down even into India. And there was a vast trade between India and East Africa at that time as well. Ivory, elephant tusk, and gold, silver, as well as in Africa. So India and Africa, they had a long-standing relationship of trade going many, many millenniums back. So this is what they did. They started migrating. So eventually Abraham was born. He was born in the city of Ur. He migrated to the land of Canaan later. And then his grandson, Jacob, was born in Canaan. Jacob had 12 sons. One was named Joseph, who became second in command to Pharaoh in Egypt. But now there's something that maybe you friends may not have known. Joseph had a wife. Who was his wife and who were his children? Let's notice Genesis chapter 41, starting in verse 50. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the year of famine came, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. And then in verse 52, and the name of the second he called Ephraim. So Joseph's wife was Egyptian. His wife was African, Asenath. Bore him 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who later became part of the 12 tribes of Israel. So what is going on today, friends? Well, the Most High is trying to gather all the families of Noah back together again so that they can follow the promised seed, the promised Messiah. And so he's trying to gather them together before time runs out in these last days. So, friends, let's discern the will of the Most High right now. And let's discern his will. He wants us to follow that promised seed. And that is the HaMashiach, Yeshua. He is here right now. Many people think that he's coming. He's coming. No, he's already here. Not physically, but spiritually. He's here and he's observing all of us right now on this earth, what we're doing. But he will be coming. But when he comes, it's going to be for judgment. But he has already arrived, friends. And we will talk about that. We have a video already out on that, but we'll talk about that some more. So, friends, let's keep this in mind, that We are in these last days. There's been a migration that has been taking place, and it will continue to until we reach the Most High.